In this video, we're going to talk about how to isolate a failure point in an ESD chair's path to ground. So if you're out in the field and you test from the seat to the ground and it doesn't test, the readings are too high, then we want to find out, okay, where in that path to ground are the readings getting too high? And so more often than not, we can just replace a single part or a small component and get the chair testing back again, as opposed to having to replace the entire chair. So the first thing we're going to do is test to a metal plate. What the metal plate does is it isolates the ESD chair itself and doesn't include the ground in the equation. Sometimes what can happen is the ground is testing a little bit high, and so when we test from the ground to the chair, we think the chair is failing. And so what the metal plate does is it ensures that we're testing just the chair and making sure that there really is a problem somewhere in the path to ground. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna retest the chair using the metal plate to ensure that the problem is, in fact, in the chair's ESD path to ground. So we test it the same way, weight in the middle of the seat, other weight on the ground, we test it. If the chair's resistance is too high, then we know that there's a problem somewhere in this path to ground. And so we're gonna investigate part by part, working from the ground up, where the problem is. The first thing we're gonna check is the casters. So we're gonna put our weight right here on the base. And what that does is it isolates the connection between the ground, the casters, to the base. And so we want to find out, are the casters grounding to the metal plate well? Sometimes over years of use, dirt and debris can start accumulating on the wheels, and slowly that resistance in the caster starts going up. And so if that's the case, maybe we need to clean the wheels, or maybe we need to replace those ESD casters. And that's a much simpler fix than having to replace an entire chair. But if you test it here and the reading looks good, then we know that's not the problem and we want to keep going. So after we test out all 5 casters, we want to test out the connection from the metal plate to the cylinder standpipe right here. What that does is it tests the connection between the base and the cylinder. Since we know at this point, hopefully the connection between the ground, the casters, and the base is good, now we go to the cylinder. And in between the cylinder and the base is our ESD circuit board on most of our ESD chairs, and that's located at the bottom of the chair. You'll see it, it's a visual thing that you can see. And maybe the connection there has gotten broken over time. Maybe someone's mop or broom hit it and the connection's been damaged. And so this is where we're gonna find it right here. When we test to the cylinder standpipe, we're gonna find out, is the connection in that circuit board a problem? And again, if that's the problem, it's a very simple fix. We can send out the part and the chair will be good to go. If it tests out well from the cylinder standpipe, we want to test to the cylinder piston right here. And so we want to find out, is the connection between the cylinder and the piston, the internal connection, is that still intact and is that testing well? If that's still testing well, the next thing we're going to test is the upholstery material. We started off testing from the seat to the ground and we knew that there was an issue, but from the ground all the way to the cylinder piston here, everything has been testing good. So we know it's either in the connection between this control mechanism and the seat cushion, or it's in the upholstery material itself. And so we want to test that out. Put both weights on the seat pan, make them a little bit far apart. You want to go from one end to the other, test it out, see how that tests. And if it tests good, then we know the issue is in the connection between the control mechanism and the seat pan. If it tests bad, then we know that we need to replace the seat cushion. While we're checking out the chair's path to ground system, we also want to check out the backrest itself. We want to make sure that the backrest is tied in. And so we want to test from the ground to the backrest right here. If that connection is reading a little too high, then we want to isolate and do the same thing. Upholstery material on the backrest, does that check out? If that does check out, then we want to make sure that the connection between the backrest and the control mechanism with this knob is nice and solid. So make sure that this knob is tightened down because that provides a metal to metal connection between the upright and the control mechanism. So this is how we isolate a failure point in the ESD chair. And this is so important because more often than not, a simple part can be replaced to get the chair working again. The entire chair doesn't need to be replaced. So if you have any questions regarding this process or anything that you've seen in this video, please give us a call at our office and we'd love to talk with you.